All right, we're away. Um, so did you watch the Project Hail Mary trailer?
Yes, yes, I did.
What'd you think?
Um, Mixed. I'll
Yeah,
be honest with you. A little bit mixed. Yeah. I don't know if I got enough from it to really weigh in. Yeah. I like the theme. I
yeah,
like sort of the direction it's going, and that's well, obviously the cast as well. Don't get me wrong. Um, but it's I think it's my own mental barrier. Like it's hard to get hyped for something because sometimes trailers look really good and then the
yep.
movies are let down, and I try not to be too optimistic, which is kind of sad when you think about it. But
Hey,
yeah,
it's not on you, dude. It's a lot of stuff that's been coming um, down the pipeline the last few years. It's this big build up. It's the bait and switch. It's like, oh, you thought you were coming to see this, but we've actually changed it, so you're actually
mm,
watching this now. But so it's the same writer, the book based off the book of the same writer who did The Martian. I don't know if you've seen The Martian with Matt Damon.
yep,
So that writer, like, this is apparently held as like one of his best books that they based it off. So he's a producer as well on this, and the reason why he's got a producer's credit because I think he wanted it done right. The whole thing was like when that first trailer came out, I can't remember what review or someone turned around and said, "Oh, it looks like the best comedy of the year," and it's like it's not a comedy. It's actually a pretty serious kind of take on first contact and humanity's survival and stuff and I saw so many people like just burnt up about how like why'd they show Rocky, why'd they show him in the first trailer or like, and I was like getting a little bit like, why is everyone bent out of shape about this and stuff? I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I got it. There's supposed to be the big reveal when he's on his own out there in space, and he's like, damn, I've got to solve this all on my own. And then all of a sudden, Rocky, the alien, shows up, and he's like, yeah, I've got the same problem back on my home world. Um, Maybe we could help each other out. It's like, oh yeah, cool. This is pretty badass. They're going in this direction, but everyone's like through the comments, through all like just different stuff where people have like, I've read the book and it's so good. They better do this freaking justice, and it looks like they're on the right track. That's what I'm kind of leaning on. Like that trailer was really cool with the Oasis soundtrack and stuff. Me and Road Kitty Cat, we watched the first trailer a couple of months back and we're like, this is really cool. We should have done a reaction to it. Then we did for this one, and a bunch of people in our comments were just saying like, yeah, you're right about this whole take on them making it more or less the Rocky Grace and Rocky show. It's not just solely based on Ryan Gosling's Grace trying to solve this mystery and stuff, and they have held back a few twists and turns in the trailer that you don't pick up. Like when you see the movie, you'll see it. So I was kind of like, this is cool. It genuinely does feel like it's a inspiring kind of story that we're going to be watching, stuff that's like based solely on like, hey, let's go on this journey kind of thing, rather than let's hit you over the head with the message, with the modern deisms and stuff of like, hey, check this out, look how inclusive we're being. It seems genuinely like we're trying to make a good movie, a good story, a good film and stuff. So yeah, I'm so kind of like, Bro Kitty Cat loves Avatar. That's coming out like December, but really its run is going to be through the holidays into January. So for her, that's kind of the first big movie of the year for 2026. This Hail Mary does feel like it is going to be a kickoff for me for the year in March when it comes out. I'm kind of stoked about it, and plus too, like Interstellar was fascinating, was really kind of cool. Hans Zimmer's score was really cool. The visuals were really nice, but for me, it was a little bit not boring, but a little bit like, oh, what time is it now? Is this still going? Is this? Why didn't they call this the movie that will never end? Like, you know, hello Kitty. But yeah, just Andy Weir. That's the book writer's, the dude who wrote the book. But yeah, just I I do kind of believe that this is going to be good. It's not going to be something where like earlier this year the John Wick spin-off Ballerina. While that was good, it's still it's a little bit too late. Like they had to put John Wick's name in the title to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the world of John Wick, and then they had to put a cameo in there off him to sort of like grab the audience and pull them in. But at the same time, I was just like, sort of, all right, you know, I'll go back and rewatch John Wick. Like Ballerina's interesting, but it's not really necessary to watch
Mm.
in that series of films and stuff. But yeah, just like I'm looking forward to Project Hail Mary. I know if Mrs. Um, what was it, Poodle Mama or whatever her name,
Poodle love or something.
Poodle Lover. I don't know if she's seen the trailer too, but yeah, I've just been recommending this to everyone. I was like, oh my god, have you seen this trailer? Have you seen like this? This looks really cool. The first trailer got me. Um, so this second one has just sold me. I'm like, yeah, we've got to go see this in IMAX. We've got to go see this in a gold class lounge or something. Like this would be really cool to like check it out. But yeah, was there anything else in the trailer that you noticed, or were you like kind of eh?
Well, the trailer wasn't horrible. The Rocky thing, like the extraterrestrial sort of, yeah, I don't know. I can't help but be a skeptic about it. Think because what was that Adam Sandler movie that came out where Adam Sandler was in space and he had that weird spider thing?
I never saw it. I
Do you
heard
know the one
about
that
it.
I'm talking about?
I can't. Here's the problem. I can't separate Adam Sandler from Billy Madison and Happy
Yeah.
Gilmore and Little Nicky, and like it's really tough. It's the same thing. Like the reason why I never seen 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams, because I'm like, nah, Robin Williams, like that's the genie from Aladdin. Yeah, he's great in Dead Poets Society and Good Morning Vietnam and freaking Goodwill Hunting and all that. But I'm just sort of like, I can't really see him or take him seriously as a serial killer or whatever it is like that they have him in, like these different roles and stuff. But yeah, just I think it's yeah, Road Kitty Cat. It's Adam Sandler's in Space, he's an astronaut, and there's a spider that he talks to, a giant spider that's I don't know on
Hmm.
his in his ship or whatever. You'd like it. You like spiders, but so
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much Project Hail Mary. That's a sold ticket for me. Um, I don't know how you feel about going into Mando and Grogu's new poster. You can probably see it on the stream there, but um, I like space, not spiders. But yeah, do you want to touch on Stargate? This whole new kind of
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I'm more pumped for that than the movie though. Um,
yeah.
sorry, Project Hail Mary, but only because I love Stargate. But um,
So it was announced. They did a little video, kind of saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's the original showrunners, the original writers. Um, we're we're really so stoked about this. Blah 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 blah. Um, may we or could we have some original cast members pop in? Oh, you'll have to wait and see, kind of thing. But another thing, like I said to Rogue Kitty Cat, I was like, while I'm excited for this, it's not the 90s anymore. Um, when they made Stargate Universe, that third series, and they tried to make it like Battlestar, super serious, not as fun, not as like kind of see you next week, like same time, same
Do
channel.
you mean universe?
Yeah, Stargate
That's what we're talking about.
Universe,
Yeah, sorry.
was it? Yeah.
Mm.
I couldn't get into that. I was struggling
Mm.
so hard. Um,
It
but
was too dramatic,
yeah, just overly like
like
serious,
far
and
too dramatic.
I'm just like, and that's another thing that Stargate Atlantis kind of suffered from in the first sort of series. As soon as they were bringing in Ronan and they started to find their sort of footing, then it started to get a little bit more interesting and more fun. But you can't help but go back to SG1 and be like, nope, we need some O'Neill, some Jack O'Neill comedy. We need some Tilk humor. Um, just little things where and this is something I debated with a few friends like about Stargate Atlantis. I was like, you had four main cast members. You had Jack O'Neill, freaking Colonel Samantha Carter. You had freaking Tilk. You had Daniel Jackson. Those are our four main people there that we're with, and yeah, you had General Hammond in there and stuff. You had a couple other little like regulars that would pop in here and there. But with Atlantis, I'm like, I can't remember half the names off those cast members because they would just keep swapping them out every season. It would just be a different
Uh,
like.
wait, because Atlantis had mostly the same cast I found through it. What do you mean? What do you mean like
So Doctor Weir, she was in it. So Atlantis had about 5 or 6
yeah.
seasons. I can't remember. Doctor Weir, she was out of
Mm.
it by the second or third season. Um, the other lady, she got pregnant and she was kind of in and out a little bit. Um, that first dude who got shot up with that, it's not troponin, whatever the hell that drug was that gets injected into you when you get your life sucked out of you. Um, he was in it for the
Yeah, I
first
can't
season.
remember.
I couldn't stand him. He was so annoying. Um, like when they got rid of him and they replaced him with Ronan, Jason Momoa's character
Ronan was
Ronan.
good.
Yeah, Ronan was
Yeah, he
like,
was alright.
yeah, he was sort of like, oh, we need some muscle like Tilk. Great, let's cast this dude, bring him in. Um, I don't know if his name's Joe Flanagan in real life, but yeah, the main cast dude who was in there, um, he was fine. Mackenzie was annoying for me, and here's my issue. I met Jonas Quinn, the guy who played Jonas Quinn in season 5 or season 6 of Stargate. I can't remember. Like he came in, and originally he was supposed to go to Atlantis. They were prepping up Atlantis to be like, all right, we can put him in there as series regular. So he was at a convention down here in Perth a few years back, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, what happened? Like, apparently you were supposed to go to Atlantis and stuff." And he said, well, to be honest, he's like, when I jumped into this, I was like everyone was like full excited, like, yeah, let's, this is gonna be great. We're gonna put you in the series. We're gonna have you as a main role, and then we're gonna spin off to Atlantis and put you into that." And he was like, "Great, that sounds awesome." And then when they sort of killed off Daniel Jackson and brought in Jonas Quinn, the fan response wasn't good. Everyone was like, this guy, we don't like him. We want Daniel Jackson back." So he said when they brought Daniel Jackson back and he was just a guest star throughout the, I don't know if it was season 7 or something, he came back for like 1 or 2 episodes throughout the season. he said it was made really clear that, oh, we'll call you, basically saying we've got nothing for you and we don't plan to really have anything, but we'll call you if something pops up. It was pretty much him getting told, hit the bricks, there's the exit, and yeah, good luck. So the way he was saying it, like, he would have loved to have been on Atlantis. He was like, I was looking forward to being on there. And I think that they sort of, whatever role he was going to be playing in there, they just filled it with someone else. Because they were like, yeah, we don't want the fan backlash and stuff. Like, and this is in the early 2000s before social media was like taking off something fierce. But this is how tuned into the fandom the the showrunners were for SG1 and for like kind of Atlantis. They were like actually listening to the fandom. So I'm hoping this is what happens now with this new series coming. I don't know if it's next year. Yeah, I hope Richard Dean Anderson comes back too, Rokitiga. Like, um, I I don't know, like, the way Atlantis ended. They were, yeah, they landed Atlantis on Earth, I think. I don't know if they're in San Francisco's Bay or wherever it was, cloaked. But did you end up watching the end of the series of Atlantis, or
Yeah.
yeah? I don't
Yeah, I've
know if
watched Stargate Atlantis a few times.
mm, I was just
I really,
yeah go
I was going to say that it really gave me the shits when they'd get a ZPM
yeah
and then they'd lose a ZPM. Or they'd
oh
find a
yeah
ZPM, but they'd have to give it to some tree village or
yeah
some children for a shield, or, it'd get
give it
burnt
to the
out,
ship
or
yeah
I don't know. And it just really frustrated me because I like those level ups. And,
yeah
you had 5 seasons or 6 seasons. I can't remember how many there were.
yeah
They had so many opportunities to level up, like get new things are better, new technology, 1 ZPM, 2 ZPMs, 3 ZPMs, but it's just sort of, they tried their best to hold it together, I think.
yeah
But I think that's why the new Stargate is going to be set probably, well, I know it's set now, like
yeah
in the near future of Earth, which is good because that means they're just continuing on from season 10, hopefully. But it's an interesting thing to think about because we're used to the 90s, you know, early 2000s
yeah
Stargate.
yeah
What is modern day Stargate? Because if universe is the reflection of it, then I know it's not going to be like that, but it just doesn't have the same, it won't have the same aesthetics. And I know that. So my expectations can't be all the way up here because I know that it's going to be, 2025 Stargate, which is a bit different. But yeah.
So, like, I absolutely agree with you. I couldn't stand them playing hot potato with the ZPMs. Um,
Mm.
the, I can't remember, like, the ancients or something that came back and said, yeah, so Atlantis is ours, so give us the keys and you guys can all go home. And they all took off, and then they end up turning around, coming back, and the ancients were all taken out, and they had found a way to rebuild three ZPMs to power Atlantis.
Mm.
One for the cloak, one for the defenses, one for to power it, the Stargate and or the city. So once it was like wrapped up the episode, like yeah, everything's all great now, and guess what? We got three ZPMs. And then the following episode is them saying, well, we're back to one. We gave one to our ship. I don't know if it was the Prometheus or whatever. We've sent one to Earth for its defenses over in Antarctica and stuff. And I was just like, what the frick? Like, why the hell did you do that? what, like, oh, is this just to screw with the audience, like you said, to level up? But you're not really. You're just going back to
Mm.
square one. Um, yeah, just it kind of got on my nerves a little bit, but the way that, especially too, like Amanda Tapping had said, I didn't know where we were going with this. She's like, when we did the pilot and stuff, I thought, oh, I hope this takes off. I hope this is successful. And then she said we got greenlit for a series. It's like, great. I hope we can get past the first 10, 12 episodes because they can just still cancel us at any time and say, we're going to pull the plug on it. Sorry, not getting ratings and stuff. And then all of a sudden she was like, yes, series one was great and successful. And then they got granted a season two and she was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then she's like, when we got up to season five and we hit 100 episodes, she was like, oh man, this is amazing. She was like, I didn't think another 5 years later and a spin-off like was gonna happen. She was just like, oh my God, we actually got to 100 episodes and we were able to do this. The writers did a great job with keeping everything fresh and new and not like just repeat, eat, sleep, repeat kind of deal. So they got in the series, they did get rid of a lot of the system lords. Then they were trying to go into the whole King Arthur stuff with these prophet dudes that were like, it just
Your eye.
yeah, it felt a little bit of a stretch. I was like, why didn't they just hit the reset button and go back to, all right, we're just exploring worlds again? Like, do you really need to have system lords? Just basic, like, this is one thing I thought was really clever of Atlantis. They, sure, it's a bottle episode, but when they've got one of the jumpers stuck in the Stargate and they're just like, oh, well, this sucks. How are we going to get out of this? And they've got to science it. They've got to figure out a way to get it to work like that way and stuff. And I was like, that's crazy. And then later in the series, it pays off because when he gets bitten by that freaking creature thing and it starts infecting him and everything, I was just like, oh man, what a setup. Like, what a great payoff and stuff. But
Mm.
also, too, going back to when they meet the Asgard, the alien dudes and stuff, and the way that plays out through the series and stuff. And then I think they sort of killed off the Asgard and let the Asgard, they gave them all humans their technology and stuff. And I was like, that's kind of going to be interesting now. Like, the Earth, like, the human race has this advanced technology and stuff. And I think this series that's coming, are you pro for everyone on Earth knows about the Stargate, or are you kind of against like, nah, keep it secret, keep it under the mountain? Um,
Well, they tried that, remember?
they've done it a few
Um,
times, like,
yeah, and then they then they seem to go back and then forward and then back. But it, I think it will be initially a secret and then not a secret. I think because I think they've got to stick true to modern times, and in 2025, how many secrets can you really have? So you've got to make it believable, and if they're going to use the same backdrop and the same setting, then yeah, I don't know if it'd be smart to keep the secret, and if they do, it would. I imagine it would be for a short amount of time. But that's just because they've already done it and redone it so many times.
I think it will change everything if the opening episode that we see is off them on a big stage, presidents or in the UN, and they've got them walking up to the podium saying like, "Yep, so we're coming out with this. We're gonna show and reveal that the Stargate program has been going on for the last like 3 decades, and yeah, so this has happened. Here's all the information. No one needs to panic because we've got lots of friends and allies out there, but we're still exploring the universe. So you know, like um, I think if they have them say there's a lot of information. There's a lot of people who can research and do this stuff, but we're basically looking for a non-militarized um, scientists, whatever, researchers and stuff that would like to come on board with this because we can't just keep sending our soldiers who aren't as well educated with this stuff and keep bringing people in on this program to the point where need to know. Sorry, you cannot reveal this to anyone out there and stuff. Like the thought process of
Do you,
them doing that kind of storyline of like we get our window, our liaison into the show, discovering everything for the first time, is a new character that has just been pulled off the street, who is a scientist or is a doctor, a Daniel Jackson esque type brought in, just like the way the movie was, the original book was and stuff, to have them be our avatar to learn about the Stargate program. And then along the way, in the first episode, they're brought onto base. They meet a few people and they hear, "Oh, what's your name?" "Oh, I'm Samantha Carter." Like freaking, you know, I've got a friend who's a colleague of yours and stuff, Daniel Jackson. I've worked with him for years, and they're like, "Oh wow, you know Daniel? What's he up to now?" He's like, "Oh, he's off world," and like just oh my god, like he's off world. Can I see him? Can I talk to him and stuff? It's like, yeah, we can go there right now. Like, and just whatever conflict that comes up, I think that's starting I was asked to describe Stargate. This is to a mate years ago when I was trying to get him into it because Atlantis was just about to start, and he was like, "What the hell's this show all about? Will I even care for it?" And I'm like, "Dude, if you love Star Trek, you'll love this. Have a watch of it." And he's just like, I don't know." Um, he said he only got halfway through the movie when that came out in '93, I think. And I said, "Watch the movie and then watch the first couple episodes of Stargate SG-1." And he was like, "I'm not too sure." And he didn't. Like, we ended up like saying to him, like, "All right, we'll give you some cliff notes and stuff." And I explained to him, so there's the whole like thing, the episode where they've got people off world, they've got their soldiers and they want to try and bring them back, but the wormhole's not getting back to Earth properly. They can't dial back and it's not like, functioning. And then when they finally get back, they're like, "Oh, great, we've got a beat point on where this wormhole's going, where it's trying to come out from on Earth." And it's like a little bit of an Atlantis thing. And he's like, "What, Atlantis?" And I was like, "Yeah." So Atlantis was in Antarctica. They found a ring that was depleted energy. He's like, "What? So there's two rings?" I'm like, "Well," they ended up freaking talking to these soldiers who come back and they said, "We found this on this world." And they're like, "What are this? Ukrainian cigarettes?" And they're like, "Oh, damn." They see the nav point of where the wormhole is on their chart thing and it shows where it's coming out. And they're like, "Freaking hell, the Russians have a Stargate?" Like, when the hell did this happen? They found it on the ocean, and just that's what kind of hooked him in. He was like, "Oh wait, so the Russians have one too?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's just sort of like from then on, he was just like, "Oh, cool. Like, I might have to start." So he pretty much became a couch potato and just sat there and watched the whole series. So he was ready for Atlantis, and he was so happy about it because his missus, she hadn't watched SG-1. She just started watching Atlantis. So she was a little bit lost, but she was like, "Oh, Atlantis is way better than SG-1." And we're like, "You haven't even seen SG-1. Like, what are you talking about?" But yeah, I do kind of feel like I am glad that I think it's Bradley Cooper, um,
mm,
or oh god, what were their names? Freaking, it's not Bradley freaking Cooper, the actor. It was a different one. Um,
Bradley, yeah, it's not Bradley Cooper, but I know who you're talking about though.
yeah,
Um, in the main Stargate, you mean?
yeah.
And which character specific? Not Michael Shanks.
No, the writer for the showrunner.
Oh, the writer.
Yeah,
With a G, doesn't it? Not Malozzi. Uh,
Brad Wright was his name.
right.
Yeah,
Why have I got a
and
G in my
Robert C.
brain?
Cooper and Jonathan Glasser and stuff. Richard Dean Anderson was also a producer too. He like
That's it. Martin Giro. That's who I was thinking of. That's why I said G. Mm.
because I was like the whole time just like I think this is what I mean. Like I don't want to get burnt. I loved that '70s show, and to sort of see like they turned around and said, yeah, we've got the original showrunners potentially gonna be like involved and all this and that stuff, and I was like, all right, cool. So then this '90s show comes along, and I'm like, I was tied so hard to it. I was like legitimately wanting it to be so good. I was just turning a blind eye to, all right, they haven't got the same chemistry as the original cast members. They've like you had Kelso was kind of dummy, stupid. Fez was foreign kid still trying to learn everything about America and stuff. You had Donna, the love interest. Freaking Jackie was the funny, goofy, silly freaking girl. Like Eric was like basically that main character, but Stephen Hyde was also the sort of co-lead. Like it was sort of their show, but Red Foreman, he was like one of the main kind of stars that everyone's like, and like everyone played off each other so well. The new series, it just felt like the two boys in it were trying to be Kelso, were trying to be Ashton, freaking, God, what's his name? Ashton Kutcher's character. They were both like just goofy and stupid. The three girls in there weren't like, it didn't feel like they had the same comedic chops as like all the guys did in that '70s show. So when I heard it got cancelled, I wasn't surprised after the second season. I was like, yeah, you can't capture that magic in a bottle. Like, I don't know if it was the same writers or I don't know if it was writers who were getting limitations put on them, studio notes of like, now make sure like this it's this way and make sure it's politically correct in this way and make sure you don't touch on this stuff like we can't have them always smoking up like as much as they can like let's let's keep it nice and family friendly and stuff. But yeah, it just didn't like Rogue Kitty Cat said it best. She goes, when you had the original cast members popping in making cameos and stuff, I was just sitting there waiting for that to happen. I wasn't sitting there being entertained by the kids. Like that, nothing was generating my interest and stuff. And plus, two, the girl that they had playing Eric Foreman's and Donna's daughter, they wrote her to be like almost unlikable a little bit. Like her throwing a tantrum about like I'm not going back, I'm staying here with Nan and Granddad, and like you're just like, how am I supposed to get behind this? Like you sort of root for Eric Foreman in that '70s show and Stephen Hyde and like everyone, but I couldn't get behind that new cast. So like I I really hope this new Stargate series, because Christopher Judd, like when I met him, he was so badass. I was just like, hey, is there any chance we'll get to see you play Tilk again? And he was just like, yeah, I'm ready tomorrow. I'll be more than happy to return to the role and stuff. But I think if they turned around and said, yeah, we're going to have Tilk leading the team, or we're going to have Carter back there leading the team, or we're going to have Daniel Jackson in there as a main character and stuff. I'm not sure if Richard Dean Anderson's really up for it. Like, insane amount of work and stuff, but I think he'd want to contribute as well if they're getting the gang back together. That Ben Bauer, who played Colonel Mitchell, I think it was. I liked him. I thought he was good. Like if they
He was a
brought
good substitute for MacGyver,
yeah,
but
if
he
they
wasn't
make
MacGyver.
if they put him in there as the general now, if they have Ben
Mm.
Bauer's character as General Mitchell now, that would be kind of
Mm.
cool, interesting to see. Um,
Yeah. Well, thinking about it, because have you watched all of Universe?
I didn't watch the last like 5 or 6 episodes. I got as far as they just, you know how they found that clone ship of theirs.
Mm. Hmm.
I got as far as that, I think, and yeah, I think they found a way back to Earth, and what's his name, Louis Diamond Phillips. He was the only one who got back to Earth, and it was just a little bit of a like, all right, what the f is going on? Do I care now? I'm just a little bit
Mm.
like frustrated with all this stuff because that girl getting abducted by the aliens, and then freaking they return her, but then oh no, she escapes, um, and then they come back for her, and then they return her, and I was just like, uh, I'm sorry, I can't get into this, but yeah, like, what was the finale of Universe?
Spoilers, you happy?
Yeah,
With that yet? So, Eli, which I wasn't too fussed on his character because he was always pining after that girl,
yep,
which I kind of found annoying. Um, but I'm not saying that that's what they will do, but they did have a lot in Universe that they could use, and that was technology and some really cool themes, but they just didn't handle it very well.
yep.
And when the season finale sort of rolled round, I'm pretty certain it was meant to be preempting season 3. So it's sort of left on a cliffhanger, but not even really like a cliffhanger. It was Eli's pod was damaged. His pod was damaged. He had like, I don't know, a week or something to fix it, but everybody else went into stasis for a long journey. But considering that, it's a really good way to tie it in because that is modern Stargate. That's where Stargate was left off. And it'd be interesting to see if they do something with that or whether or not they just put it to bed and be done with it. Just like with Atlantis, it's put to bed, it's not talked about. But realistically, Atlantis is on Earth because that's what happened, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Atlantis was returned to Earth for the defense. I remember with the drones,
Yep.
my memory. Yeah, because they needed it. So that's something to consider too, because where Stargate finished, you had a ship on a course, intergalactic course, and most of the crew in stasis, and Eli, who's a boy wonder, left to his own devices. So who knows? Atlantis is on Earth, but everybody knows about Atlantis. They have to. You can't just land a ship, like a city ship, on Earth and the whole Earth not know. You can't just browse over that, but you can if it was invisible. But then again, by memory, they can't cloak and use the weapons at the same time.
Yep.
Wait, shield. Sorry, the shield at the same time. Sorry, I laughed,
Oh,
but
frick. Oh.
I just start to. I'm starting to remember it all, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But, but yeah, going back to the beginning where you said, oh, does everybody know about it? I'm like, how do you hide that? That's how the season sort of ended. So you've got Atlantis, you've got the opportunity for a program with the whole world. You've got China, America, Russia. They probably have recruits into the Stargate program. Kids are graduating, wanting to join the Stargate program because they know about it. Are they going to go to Atlantis?
That's so
Or
cool.
is there a project to get to universe? I don't know. You could honestly, you could go a few different ways, but I do like not coming of age, but I do like the idea that you've got the next gen, you know, sort of petitioning to get into the Stargate program, and people won't cut it, but some will. And what's the age group? I don't know, but I know that reading through the bits and pieces that was there, they're going to stay true to the diehard fans, and let's hope that's the case. But apparently, they're catering for everybody, which tells me that there might be that theme. So, not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I do like all of that, but they've got so much potential. If you were going to write a script where each of those series ended, you know, I don't know, there's a lot there. Yeah. Anyway,
Do you want to see just like I don't know if you like Star Trek?
hmm.
You've seen
just not the new stuff as much. It was all right at first Discovery, but
uh,
Picard was pretty good. And what's the other one?
Strange New Worlds. Um,
Strange New Worlds was all right, but they did that bloody musical episode. I think we
yeah.
talked about it last time, and it sort of frustrated me a bit, to be honest. But
So pretty much here's where me and Rogue Kitty Cat were. So Rogue Kitty Cat's a fan of DS9. I'm a fan of Voyager. We're both not conflicted, but we're both sort of like, her love for DS9 is like, look, it's all about negotiations. It's all about being diplomatic because
mm,
they're not like Next Gen or the original Star Trek or Voyager. Oh, we've got a problem. Let's just fly away from it. Let's we can't. Negotiations failed. Let's fly away from it. DS9, she's like, they're right there. They are stuck there, and they have to represent the Federation as legit kind of. Hey, we don't want war. Okay, we're a curious race, and we want to be diplomatic and stuff. And they're on the edge of this wormhole that everyone wants to use and stuff. And there's different issues and stuff. With me, with Voyager, I'm like, they've got no choice. They're on their own. They have to make negotiations and deals with the Borg. They've got to come across species that are like hell bent on like nah, war is the answer, and they're like, well, no, we cannot have conflict, guys. Let's try and work things out. And I was like, because Rokika was like, Odo's really cool in DS9 because he's got to be the security officer, but he's also part of a race that he hates. I was just like, the Doctor, he's a hologram. He knows it all and stuff, but he's just burdened with, like, I have to watch countless people die around me. I'm not going to die. I'm just going to be here for good, but my program has been discontinued back home on Earth. I would be, thrown aside if I wasn't out here. So what happens when if we do get back to Earth and they're like, yeah, so you're obsolete. Sorry, we need to scrap you pretty much and stuff. But like when they brought the Picard series around, and I was like, "Ooh, cool! Love Patrick Stewart. Love me some Picard. Let's see where they go with this." And it was not not everything we were hoping for. So the showrunners, they took a hike. They went off to go and make this new Star Trek Federation or Star Trek Academy show, and they were off making Strange New Worlds and Discovery and all that stuff. And one of the original people who worked on Voyager worked on Series 3 of Picard, which was the highest rated and most fan loved thing because it was just episode after episode of Picard collecting his original crew to go on one last mission. And they had that iconic shot of all of them on the bridge when they're relaunching, I think it was the E Class or something, ship out. And I was sitting right back there on the couch with Rogue Kitty Cat sitting over there as well, and we had like goosebumps. I was just like, "Thank you, that's all we wanted." The music, the original cast, everyone, and just the way they introduced him as well. When you had Worf, the lady, she wakes up, I forget her name, and she's just like, "Who are you?" And I forget, he was sharpening something. a weapon and stuff. He's just like, I'm Worf, son of freaking this, defender of this, and fighter of that and stuff. And you can see her just getting a little bit freaked out, and he's like, "Would you like some herbal tea?" And she's like, yeah, sure." And then it was bit by bit seeing the original cast coming together, and I was like loving that. I'm like, what the frick is going on? Like, why didn't they just do this from season one and stuff? And then you read up and you find out, oh yeah, it was the original dude who worked on Voyager and stuff. And then we find out he was trying to get a spin-off going for another Star Trek series with Seven of Nine being the captain, and they had that end episode lead into basically it, and then they just went, nah, Star Trek Academy, show of diversity and stuff. I'm like, what? What? Why? What? You had us. You literally had the fandom all back saying, "Yep, yeah, give us more of this, please. A little bit more of this." And they're just like, "No, no, no, we're going to go in a different direction." It's like, what? Why are you doing this? It's like, no, you don't know what you want. We need to tell you what you want. And then they're scratching their heads, going, why is it not getting ratings? Why is it not being successful? Why are people not tuning in and stuff? So I'm hoping, like with Stargate, I hope they do kind of turn around and say, apart from the, oh, we've got, because that's what the that Brad Wright was saying, we've got more technology now to do better effects than what we did back then and stuff. I was like, yeah, you didn't have the best effects back then. What'd you make up for it from, like, to compensate for that? Was it good writing? Was it good storytelling? Good characters? Good performers? You can't just slap to.
One-liners, comedic value, like it was enough. There's still episodes, and I can't even remember the ones where I'm just in fits of laughter, and there's a few, like there's 10 seasons, obviously, but I wouldn't say there was more than like two or three that had me in fits. But there were those moments where I was like, is this the episode that like got me? And then, it'd sneak up on you, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. You'd just be laughing because it was hilarious. And we spoke about it last time about Tilk.
Yeah.
Like every time, yeah, you know what I'm
Getting the
referring to.
door smacked into his face. It's like, I'm sorry, sir. You've said that many
And that's
times. Perhaps next time I won't be as forgiving.
and
But
it's
like,
such a great episode though, because it's just so, I don't know, it's simple, but it's not too much, and it
yeah,
played on, the characters and who they are, not some other theme.
yeah. And just also too, like the chemistry between the cast to do that. When you have like O'Neill, when you have Richard Dean Anderson as Jack O'Neill, they're in this hot spot where they've got no weapons. They're stranded on this planet, and they're surrounded by gangs of different species and creatures and stuff. And they're just like, Carter's looking at Jack and just going, "What do we do?" He's like, "Don't worry, I've got a plan to get us out of this. We'll work our way out of this." And he goes, "Tilk, take point and look scary." And then freaking Tilk's he just stands there with a stoic look and just like starts walking, and everyone just parts. Everyone gets out of the way as Tilk's walking, and they're just like, "Yeah, we're with him." And freaking, I was just like, just little things like that where you just start chuckling, like, "Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in his way if Tilk's walking with like that stern look." But just other stuff when I think there was the Prometheus ship, they had launched it, um and it's not, I don't know, it's not completely, all the checks aren't there, so they're just like, all right, we don't know if we need to conserve power or something. The refrigerator's busted as well on this, like the cold storage is not working, so you've got to try and eat all that frozen stuff. So it's got them, they're sitting around like they're eating like some ice cream and stuff, and Jack walks in, he's talking about like, all right, we're in contact with Earth and stuff. And he's going over to take a scoop out of freaking this massive tub that Tilk's got, and Tilk's just like gives him this look, like pulls it away, and then pulls out another ice cream thing and just shoves it to O'Neill, like This is mine, thanks. Like, not a word is said. It's just that theatrics of, you know, just little stuff like that. Same too with like freaking that time episode when Jack is like saying, "What kind of an archaeologist has a weapon here?" when he's searching through the dude's bag, and freaking Daniel Jackson's like, "Well, I do." And Jack's got this look in his face like, Richard Dean Anderson sells it right, like really good, where he's just giving him a look like, "Don't help him," like, freaking, I'm trying to interrogate him, kind of stuff. Like, there's just so many different elements to that show too, and even too like with when Rogue Kitty Cat was like making it very clear to me all this stuff about like whether it was Jennifer Lawrence or Brie Larson or someone saying we've never had women in charge or in strong roles and stuff, and she would just be like, have you ever seen Xena Warrior Princess? Have you ever seen like Carter from Samantha Carter from freaking Stargate? Have you ever seen any of them? That's what I grew up with. So why are they just trying to sweep that aside and just ignore that from decades earlier, just so you can try and make a little media frenzy of like, yeah, women get it done kind of thing? And I'm like, yeah, Carter had a few really cool moments. Like, I mean, she took over the team towards the end when Jack got promoted to being a general. Like, that was something that was really kind of like interesting because they did progress it in terms of ranking in the military and stuff for the show to be like, yeah, so Carter's been well overdue a promotion and stuff. Same with like Jack, so they've moved up. I think what you were just touching on about how, oh yeah, if there's sort of the program of like, yeah, if you go to the school or you go to do this and stuff, you can potentially be part of the Stargate program and potentially go off world or do research for them or do this and that. Um, it's sort of like it's like I'm sorry, I'm thinking of that episode where you've got Jack, he's just leaning there and he's so bored because he's in charge now, and they're just coming up to him. The scientists are all just being like, "Here's all these minerals and stuff. Like, check out this new rock and stuff that we got off this world and stuff. We've got another one. It's just in containment right now, but we're just waiting for it to get the all clear to show you." And Jack's just like, "Don't you keep me waiting. I can't wait for this." And then freaking Daniel comes running in and he's like, "Jack, oh, sorry to interrupt." He's like, "No, you must interrupt. You must." He's like, "I think we found another ZPM." He's like, "Yes, I'll get back to you guys about your rocks and stuff." And they go running down the hall. Like, that, they didn't have that in Stargate Universe. They didn't have that kind of humor and stuff. The whole thing with Eli, I was like, the way they kind of injected him into the story and stuff to be like, oh, this guy represents all the normal people out there who play video games and stuff. It's like, yeah, we put this in a video game and you seem to solve it. So, yeah, we want to bring you on board with this. I was like, you don't have to have some random kid like that be written in. Like, you could have done a better job. Like, you could have had any scientist be like, yeah, I'm a gamer. And, yeah, I can. It was just such a lazy way of being like, yeah, so this whole problem solving was put into a game and you seem to solve it, kids. So, yeah, we're here to bring you on board and stuff. But, yeah, just while I'm looking forward to it, I got my. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say one last thing. Something that I was thinking about today was Stargate covered the Egyptian gods, they covered the Norse gods, but staying true to it, I think there's a good chance that they're going to cover other gods that weren't included in the original series. So, listen, from anywhere from Japanese gods to I don't know, but I'm just thinking they're your main ones, right? The Egyptian and the Norse, but you've also got the Olympian gods like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. It'd be very interesting, and that almost seems like it could definitely go in that direction because that's what Stargate was. It was, you know, they pivoted off mythologies and made them real, you know. And one thing that I honestly, I think the Greek gods, that would be interesting because they did have names in there. They had like Horus and trying to remember whether or not they touched on it even ever so slightly. I don't. Do you recall? I don't think they did. Greek
So,
gods. No?
like, when they had the Asgard sort of come in, I thought that's what kind of
Mm.
covered that sort of region of like history, talking about that sort of stuff.
Mm.
But then they're like, we'll just make them little aliens, and just they evolve that to being like, yeah, so they're just clones of each other and all that stuff. And I
But that was based on the Norse gods, though, all of that
yeah,
arc, wasn't it?
yeah,
Because they sort of they it was the Egyptian ones, and then that was gone, and then they moved into, you know, the Norse gods, and then Atlantis was, you know, going way back when to, you know, like almost Mayan, but not really. Do you know what I mean? And there's a missed opportunity for Greek gods there, and I think that I'm not saying I'm not going to call it, but where do you go? Do you dig up something, you know? But yeah,
I think like my thought process of, remember when Jack gets cloned and there's a kid version of
mm,
him, and they're like, we don't
yeah,
know what to do with him after this, so he's just like, I'm going to go to school. I'm just going to live out the glory years in my youth and stuff. Um, Enough time has passed for him to be old enough to potentially join the military and join like the Stargate, so they could cast up someone who's a younger version of Jack, who's just joined up with the Stargate program. But then I don't think they'd have him playing the exact kind of Jack O'Neill. But then again, it would be kind of interesting if they did touch on that, because it never got addressed again throughout the series. It never went into, oh yeah, so this is what happened to that kid version of Jack O'Neill. Like freaking, um, yeah, look, they've got a library of different ways to revisit stuff, but also show some of the conflicts that come up. I think one of the main villains they could have is, well, not villains, but antagonists, is a lot of the negotiations of different worlds out there, different species. It's like, hey, we've come out to our public on Earth. We want to integrate people from your world into ours and vice versa. So I think that's where the whole kind of structure could come from, or they do, because I'm sort of like, me and Ro Kitty Cat talked about this. Are they basing it on Earth? Are they basing it to be Earth is the hub? We're back on the same that Cheyenne Mountain or whatever underneath there, or are we doing it off world with a different society, but humans have gone to this world and they're working with this other species that is humanoid and stuff. But yeah, I was kind of a little bit of a, what the frick, like, where are they starting from? Like, are they just going to call it Stargate Command now? Are they going to call it SG1? Like, they're going to start the SG1 program again or something? Like, you know, they could touch on, like, well, this was discontinued about over a decade ago, over 10 years ago. So, yeah, once they stopped it, there was a big debate about whether or not we should bring it back. And now we've approved to bring it back and stuff. And we've brought on a lot of original people and stuff. Because, like, the God, I might have to rewatch that episode. The one where they hit 200 episodes, and it's got them talking about the what is it, Wormhole Extreme or something, the TV show that they were touching on. Freaking in the this was in the 10th series, I think. Do you remember that one where the TV producer shows
I
up and he's saying we're trying to figure out ideas and stuff.
Wormhole X?
Yeah,
No, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and the
That's a funny one.
yeah, just the way that they touched on everything, Farscape, Star Trek, freaking all of that stuff, just doing parodies of stuff. And I was just like, damn, this is like it's gotten the show has gotten this far. They've reached back to freaking doing a whole like parody off itself and stuff, and all the other sci-fi stuff. Like that'll be kind of interesting. But like, yeah, I think they've got enough in that arsenal to like go back and just pull up. Like, do they need another god type? Like, yeah, this is in another galaxy, and now they know about us, and they come to take us out and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, the first series of this could just basically be a trip down nostalgia lane, them touching on all these different missions that the previous ones went through and stuff, and yeah, just saying like we need to retrace this, or we need to find out about this or that and stuff. You have Daniel Jackson going along for the ride with the new team. You have Carter, potentially she might be the general, or whatever it was. Like they were pulling her in stuff. God, I really want to rewatch that series again too. Road Kitty Cat's like going, let's watch it, and I'm like, yeah, we should kind of watch it. Like, but we've got all this other stuff we got to watch. I don't know if you're watching. Have you seen Stranger Things?
Yeah, I spoke to Stace about it today, and she really liked the first season and then sort of trailed off. So I
Yeah,
might end up watching it by myself, to
I
be
heard
honest.
about
But
that.
yeah.
I heard about
Mm.
everyone's like said to us. The first season's good, second season's kind of alright, third season gets a little bit off track, and then they're like, I think the fourth season sort of tries to get it back on track, and now this series that's come out apparently glitched out and crashed Netflix for a little while, so everyone's tuning in to watch it. But we haven't watched not an episode off it. I've got mates who have said to me, our friendship can't progress any further until you've watched that show, Stan. And I'm like, really? Like, is it that good? Are you building it up too much for me to where I'm going to watch it and be like, ugh, is that it? But yeah, they were just saying like, you know, it goes back to that '80s nostalgia and stuff. I was just like, all right, like the series of the baby start with a guy, forget his name. The new season of Strange Things, pretty good so far. Haven't seen it yet, Fox. Um, I do want to watch it, but I'm just like even Two Road Kitty Cat's like saying to me, she goes, we should really make it like a long weekend just in case we do start watching it. This is the Daredevil problem when we first started watching Daredevil on
Mm.
Netflix. I loved that so much because I was sitting there just like, all right, you try and freaking impress me with this Daredevil series, and then it was like awesome. I was like, oh my god, freaking they actually got it right. Um, what was it? I think it got up to the hallway episode. It's midnight. We were cutting deals with like, no, we have to go to bed now. It's freaking work day tomorrow. This is like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I was like, we have to go to bed now. But we were just like, one more episode, one more episode. We got to midnight. We are like, damn it, I want to watch the next episode and I can't. We're just lying there wide awake till freaking 1, 2 in the morning, just like thinking, oh, damn, this is going to be so cool watching the next 5, 6 episodes. But yeah, just because we don't, during the week, Monday to Thursday, we're in bed by like 10. We're just like, no ifs or buts about it. We've got to be in bed by 10 because we're getting up early. It's a school night. When it hits Friday, Saturday, it's all out. Like, let's watch whatever we want. Let's do whatever we want because we can just sleep in tomorrow and not have to get up anytime early. And then when it hits Sunday, we're just like kind of all right. We've got to go to bed early now and start the week again. Here we go. How's it going? Oh my god, it's Kate. We're good. Are you talking about me and Ro Kitty Cat, or are you talking about us now? But yeah, just like we have to, not necessarily get up early tomorrow, but we've got we're good. Well, I'm good. How are you? So yeah, tomorrow we were both supposed to tomorrow go to the toy hobby fair, but it's going to be too boiling hot, and plus two, I think you're like kind of burnt out from working 23 hours a day, pretty much. But yeah, tomorrow WWE's got Survivor Series War Games on that's going to be streaming. So me and Road Kitty Cat, we're going to have some breakfast tomorrow, or probably lunch because we'll get up at like 10 and watch that and stuff. We got predictions and stuff. Apparently, Steve Austin might be popping in. I don't know if you saw that. Oh my god, it's Kate. Someone like all the hotels around the big stadium have a big bird's eye view into the stadium from where they are, and someone took a photo and some video of them testing some of the big video screens and stuff there, and one of them had Steve Austin's logo intro kind of deal for the show. And so everyone's like, why are they running that? And it's like, oh my god, rehearsals. They've got Steve Austin probably coming out. I was like, oh crap, that'd be insane. But this is basically the show that sets up WrestleMania next year in April. So that's where I was just like saying to Tanya, like we'll be able to figure out like you know where they're going to go with what matches and what different wrestlers they're going to bring in. Oh my god, as Kate said, he better not crash, or he best not crash. This past year, Steve Austin came out on a big not moped, quad, freaking four wheeler quad deal, and he went way too fast around the ring and crashed into the barrier and knocked one of the fans down. I don't know if a lawsuit came out of it, but yeah, they like laughed it off and stuff. But yeah, if he shows, I hope he does show up. I hope he does have a match at Mania. That'd be insane. But yeah, this was there anything else you wanted to touch on with Stargate?
No, I think we're I think we've called it. I think they've got a great opportunity to have that next gen come through than competing to be part of the Stargate program. I really think that that'll be the theme
Yeah,
more than likely.
we'll see.
I think my headset's gone dead.
Ugh. We'll we'll see what's happening like over the next year. We'll get them releasing probably a cast photo or a set photo, or we'll have the trailers or whatever announcements and stuff, but we'll get to see where they're going with this because apparently the scripts are all done, everything's all good to go. All they need to do is just cast it, build the sets, get everything like filmed up and stuff. And it's not like, oh yeah, we're just running a pilot to see if we can get a series. Granted, like they've got it all up and ready to go. I think it's Amazon. I can't remember exactly who the hell's streaming it, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what comes of it. But um, have you got time for? Sorry.
Oh, I've lost you.
All right.
I think
That's
you can still hear me, but I've lost you.
well, that sucks.
So I'm going to try and fix it.
All right. Um, so just this whole Mandalorian and Grogu poster that's popped up. Um, I don't know if you want to touch on
I've
that.
got your back.
Yeah. Can you hear me all good?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So this Mando and Grogu movie coming out. I know that they're going to be releasing a Avengers Doomsday trailer with Avatar, and there's potentially a Supergirl trailer that's going to be attached to it as well. I think the no-brainer is them whacking a Star Wars Mandalorian and Grogu trailer to it. We didn't really get much with the teaser that they dropped back in September, I think it was. But this new little poster that they've dropped out, it feels like it's imminent. It's coming pretty soon. Um, Whatever marketing team, whatever like committees that's like sitting there saying, "All right, we need to get a head start on starting to drive this and promote this and stuff." Have you got any hype behind this? Like, is there any curiosity to seeing this? Like,
I'll be honest with you, not a lot. Like, I'm definitely going to watch it, but the hype behind it, I don't know. I hope we're not catering to the younger audience too much with Star Wars, because it does feel that that's a theme. And with the Baby Yoda thing, and continuing on with the Baby Yoda thing, it's more tailored to, yeah, I just think a younger demographic rather than someone like myself that wants more violence, and, not blood and gore, but, you know, we talk about it all the time. We want to see the Old Republic or something, like the Mandalorian and Yoda. I think it's definitely still on that arc. Um, Not a horrible arc, but I don't think it's the best. But that's just my unsolicited opinion.
it feels like this is the last like reach that they've got. Um,
Mm.
it's been touched on like where do they go from this? I know they've got that Star Wars Starfighter coming out the following year for the 50th anniversary. That's got Ryan Gosling in it. That's got a like freaking, but like it's a very heavy Kathleen Kennedy project. It's not a John Favreau thing. Favreau's kind of in full command of this Mandalorian Grogu movie. It's a mind
Yeah,
boggle.
because it's because of the merch too. Like, there's a big fan base for Mandalorian and Grogu, which means they have to keep it clean, and they have to keep it like funny ish in that sense. And yeah, sorry.
You're
I
right,
just, mm,
because like finding out like Andor this past week costed $750 million. It was over $700 million
mm,
it cost to make. God, what was it? 14, maybe 15 hours of TV show that
it's
isn't getting
wild.
insane amounts of like viewership and stuff. And I'm like, man, it's normally like 80 million, 90 million to make a Star Wars film or just a film in general. And you blew over 700 and something million to film that series. Like, where did the cost go? Like, who was sitting there in that room with all the production people and everyone saying like, okay, sign off. Let's sign off. You know, 800,000 on this, or let's make sure this person gets a nice big fat paycheck, or just
I was lining pockets, Stan, for sure. That money doesn't disappear. It
mm,
doesn't just go into production. It is it's opportunistic. That's the right word. You know, hey, this is a money maker, or so they thought, but it's now a black hole for for people to just take advantage of the fact that there's so much money at their disposal. Um, it's actually quite frustrating, but you know, like we talk about the Star Wars games a lot. Most of the cut scenes in those Star Wars games are amazing.
yeah,
Like, for what that would have cost to generate, even the fan made stuff that I've seen
yeah,
is pretty cool. You imagine if that was someone had dedicated like hours every day, for a few years or something to produce something. Imagine what they could do. And then you hear that nearly $1 billion, like, yeah, I just laugh and I'm just like, no, no, it never was going to cost that. It was always going to, go into someone else's bank account,
Yeah.
because that money, it's not justified. It's not justified at all, I don't think. But yeah,
It's such a weird thing to be like, all right, like with Favreau getting Mandalorian off the ground, and he was like, we're working like with a budget. Here's the amount of money that we've got to use, and he poked fun at it as well with what was it, The Rise of Skywalker. This is back in 2019 when J.J. Abrams was working on that, and it came out that that costed over 500 million to make. And I was like,
yeah, that's
that is
bonkers.
insane freaking production money. And Favreau said when we were putting together Mandalorian stuff, he had to invent the veil or whatever it was, that stage where the camera it follows you around, but you've got the big screen behind you that looks like there's a massive background behind you. He's like, we had to invent that technology, and we knew we couldn't build these giant sets, or we couldn't have these massive, like, crews and production and like, just like Tony Gilroy, who worked on this freaking Andor. And I was watching, I was just like, wow, everything looks really cool, looks kind of nice and stuff, but this isn't making me, believe I'm watching a Star Wars like show or movie or a set world, because I can barely see any aliens in this and any stuff like this. When
It
Favreau,
was the Jedi's. It was the Jedi's been, like
yeah,
the power of the Force. Like, I know we've done all these arcs and these offshoots,
yeah,
but we keep dancing around like mainstream Star Wars,
yeah,
which is Jedi's and the Force, and or aside Resistance. Yeah, like it's great, but we keep focusing on all of these arcs, and I get frustrated because I'm like, I just want Star Wars back.
yeah,
Like, I want to the end an episode where a kid's moving a broom, and it's just like, oh, he's got a high count. He must do what's do you know what I mean? Like, it's so annoying that it's dramatic. And honestly, because it's that time of the night, Stan, they need to kick Grogu out of it, because the Mandalorian as a character is an amazing character, has the potential to tell a really, really amazing story and make it cool, and they got it right a bit with the upgrades, the Mandalorian, like upgrading his armor a little bit. But that Grogu thing, that's just the put a chick in it and make it lame scenario. It is all right. It's fine, but it's just not like the Mandalorians are meant to be elite. And yeah, it just doesn't play out
yeah,
like that. It's just all bells and whistles. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just
yeah,
all they're relying on bells and whistles and the Baby Yoda thing. Because if you take Baby Yoda out of it, there's nothing in that story of the Mandalorian really, because they don't go into it enough for it to build a foundation. If you were to kick like Grogu out,
yeah.
because it pivots on that childish theme. And when I say childish, I mean, you know, yeah, I don't
But you've seen Bad
know.
Batch?
I like Bad Batch.
Yeah. Um, when you have what's her name, Omega or whatever, it felt same too with Grogu. It feels like when you
Mm.
have this little kid character along for the ride, feels like it's holding back the characters. Feels
It
like it's
pulls it it pulls it down and it keeps it PG, and that's not a bad thing if that's the audience you were catering to. But the Bad Batch as well had a lot more potential than what it is, and I watched it because you've got that story progression, and you get a lot of out of the animated series in that sense.
yeah,
But it is frustrating
yeah,
because there isn't, there hasn't been diehard Star Wars in a while. You know, nothing worth talking about. No, yeah, nothing cool, nothing, you know, really, the images that pop into my head are not Ahsoka.
Hmm.
Um, what's the one with that brooding guy? The
What?
latest one, uh, where they tried to the oh no, she has a twin, and she's the bad
Oh, the
twin. But
Acolyte
wait,
one. I
no, the
haven't
good
watched
one
that. Uh,
is now the bad twin. That's the plot twist, Stand. Don't forget it. You know, the good one turns bad. And it's just like,
yeah.
what? Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing with it? You know, I,
I didn't.
I just go back and watch the, you know, episode
Yeah.
4,
The thing is,
you know,
what?
episode 5, 6, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
and you know,
I kind of like that Acolyte show. I knew that was dead on
that's it. Acolyte.
arrival. So pretty much the runner of that show, her name's Leslie Headland. She's an absolute freaking. She cast her wife as the green bitch in that freaking show. It was basically like, hey, I've got all this money. I'm going to cast all my friends and all the people I know and write whatever I want. And
And
she,
take all the money though too, Stan.
yeah, she basically she was
Line our
knocking
pockets.
George. She was taking shots at George when the show was being made. She's like, yeah, he can't.
Stan, do you know that she's on record saying that, you know, she's a diehard Star Wars fan and she
Yeah,
knows the universe and
she's
all of
full
this,
of
and it's
it.
just like, you know, 5/5 of FA,
She is.
pretty
She's
much.
put it this way.
Yeah.
Right before she started the show, she was on the red carpet, and the person saying, so apparently you're potentially going to be working on Star Wars, like, and she goes, oh, please, Kathleen Kennedy, Queen, if she is willing to give me the go ahead, I cannot wait and stuff. And they're like, okay, so what is your favorite thing about Star Wars, and what's your favorite character and stuff? And she goes, um, the thing about it is, and you could just see her stumbling, like, um,
Mm.
I really, I just love the world of Star Wars. I love like Star. It's like, oh, you love the Star
Wrong
Wars.
answer.
You've never
Wrong
fucking seen it,
answer.
have you?
You've got, when someone asks you that question, Stan, you've got absolutely everything in the Star Wars universe to focus on, and you can focus on anything. You can literally just go straight to Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, and just be like that, the music, the orchestra, waiting for the shields to drop, and they're sitting, and it's just the you know, it's climactic, and it's just, oh shit, and then he, you know, the lightsaber goes through him, and it's just like, you know what I mean, edge of your seat.
Yeah,
That's what you say in that forum. When you ask that question, you focus in on what you love about Star Wars, and specifically what movie, what scene. You know, I like Jar Jar Binks because it was a, you know, he's just a funny character and he was always being a goof, and you know, da 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 da.
yeah,
You can say absolutely anything and you will be credible,
yeah,
as long as you know, you at least mention a scene or something about Star Wars rather than talk about it vaguely. Don't talk about it vaguely.
yeah.
Be specific.
And
What do you
just
like about Star Wars?
yeah, and just to be able to turn around and just say, oh, you know, I like that journey that Luke goes on. He's there basically complaining about, I want to get out and start my life. I'm stuck in this small part of the universe. He's looking out at the twin suns and stuff. And it's just that
Yeah.
nice personal moment of the music like playing and stuff that makes Star Wars that iconic kind of deal. And then we go to the following movie where he's goes against his master's wishes, saying, no, I've got to go help my friends and stuff. Then he's there with his severed hand, and he's just found out his father is the most evil dude in the galaxy, and he's
Mm.
hanging off that antenna, calling out to Ben for help. Then he realizes, wait a minute, I can't rely on Ben. He's gone. He's dead. And he reaches out to Leia. He thinks like the next thing that reaches out, and then he comes to find out that Leia's his sister. When he's leaning there as a full badass Jedi, when he's listening to 3PO tell the story of Star Wars to the Ewoks about what's happened so far and stuff when he's on Endor. and just you can go into anything like, and she had no idea what she was talking about. So now when she comes out in all these interviews and stuff, it's like, oh, you've done your research, and you're acting like you know what you're talking about and stuff. But here's the thing: you just worked on a show that has failed miserably, that doesn't stay true to a lot of the lore that is in Star Wars. Then you've got
Mhm.
Favreau, who made it like, because I think, yeah, Acolyte costed 200 and like a quarter of a billion, 250 million it cost to make that, like 8 episodes or 6 episodes of that. And Favreau made it for like the Mandalorian, the first season of Mandalorian, for like less than 80 mil, I think. He had like a budget of like freaking 15 million an episode, or something like that. And he was just like, when he was poking fun at J.J. Abrams when he goes, here's the big Star Wars film off there being made for like ridiculous money, and here we are trying to just get a little Cantino thing to stay accurate to when you see a 2 second shot of it in Empire Strikes Back when someone's running down the hall when they're evacuating Besman, and he's going into detail where he's like, we had to make a fully functioning Cantido because it was basically an ice cream maker that someone was carrying around in the 80s and the 70s. And he goes, we were trying to legitimize this little iconic freaking thing because, and this is when Favreau touches on, when they have Star Wars Celebration, the convention, they have a whole bunch of fans that are dressed up in that same outfit with that dude running in Besman, and they do the Besman run around the convention and stuff. And I saw him, I was just like, this is insane. Like, this is so funny to see, like, people are still doing this after all these decades and stuff. Like, it just shows the fandom is in full force, like, no pun intended. But yeah, I just, when you get a Leslie Headland, and she's got no idea what she's doing, it's like, here's a bunch of money. Is she going to say no to that? Of course not. She's going to be like, oh, yeah, I love the Star Wars. I love it. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about, do you? Not a clue. But then when you get a Favreau and you give him a tiny, limited budget, and he goes, yeah, I'm going to try and make this work and stuff. Like, this is why I've got a little bit of faith in this Mando and Grogu movie, but I'm not pumped for it. I'm not like, it's been killed off time and time again by all these castings of showrunners and directors and stuff. But like, yeah, I don't mean to hold you up anymore if you got to bounce. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch on with it, or are you pretty?
Now, I'd probably just progressively get negative about Leslie
Yeah,
Headland and the rest of it, Stan, if we keep talking about it, because the money annoys me, the people annoy me, and I can't wait for Stargate. And I am going to watch the Mandalorian movie because I do like the Mandalorian. I don't not like the Mandalorian. And
yeah,
Hail Mary does look good. Um, Definitely interested in actually watching a good movie,
yeah.
with some solid foundations. But yeah, I'd probably just get negative, a little bit more negative, man, because I'm tired.
I
I
wouldn't
almost got
call
to
it.
midnight, so that's something.
I wouldn't call it negative. I think it's something that can be more debatable and stuff. Like, if if something isn't right, if you walk into a room and it stinks, I'm not going to be the person that walks in there and is just like, I'm going to just hold my nose and not, like, hold my tongue and not say anything. No, I'm going to walk in there and say, this place stinks and I don't want to stay in here. Like, what's going on? Like, you know, someone, like, cut the cheese, or what's going on? But yeah, I just, I, I really hope that they've got to have a trailer that just blows our socks off. If they've got, because I did. Oh no! Why did I disappear? What is going on? Well, that sucks. Can you
Did
still
you
hear
did you
me?
put more money in the machine?
No. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I guess I should stop stream because this is really odd. But yeah, I'll just stop it now.